I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Neal?
Here.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Here.
Mr. Singer?
Here.
Mr. Hennings? Here. Mr. Oakley?
Here. Everybody for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item is student achievement. I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Glykoff.
And I will quickly hand it off to Mr. Wingler, our high school principal, as this month is highlighting our high school. So I think he's brought a couple of students with him this month.
Yes. Working on it. Okay. We're not going to take a ton of your time, but I would like to always kind of highlight both some of the things that our students are doing that we've been doing in the past that we're going to do better, and some new things we brought to the high school. Our goal is 100% participation at the high school. Last year, we increased those numbers in non-athletic extracurriculars by about 40 to 45%. Students that had never been involved in stuff in the past, whether it was esports, which is the new wave, or whether it was a club that grew like Key Club from 8 to almost 40 kids, we've expanded that because we believe that kids should be involved at all times. The more they're here, the more they're doing something productive. So I'm going to review a little bit of the stuff we're doing. I brought representatives from some of the new classes to kind of describe what's going on. Mr. Supak, thanks for joining us. Okay. if you
Late
could-
as usual.
All right, VHS, what's new, club-wise? Yearbook class. So this year we have a yearbook class. We want the yearbook to be student-run, student-designed, and we want them to be in charge of every single aspect. So we brought a couple students from the yearbook class to kind of tell you what they're doing. By the way, we have 31 students. It's closed. It was supposed to be capped at 28, but kids are still trying to get in. It's so full in there that we have two teachers, Mrs. Becker and Mrs. Bader, and these two gentlemen are going to give you the quick elevator speech of what they're doing down there.
Alright, so as you know, I'm Gavin Supak, and this is Tristan Pegs, and we're part of the yearbook. I'm a senior here at Brooklyn High School, and basically our class, it's full of 9th through 12th graders of all ages, and sorry.
Fine.
Alright, so we go to different events. It's more student-run this year, so we take pictures ourselves, and then we combine them, and we decide which pictures we want and which pictures aren't. And this year, Ms. Bader and Ms. Becker are helping us with effective caption writing and other stuff, such as taking pictures, lining them up, and making everything just perfect for it. And we already chose the theme for this year, and we're just basically debating about it and going as it goes.
Anything? You good? All right, so we're excited about that, and I think it's going to be probably the best. I'm going to go out on a limb. It's going to be one of the best yearbooks you've seen in a long time because it's all student done. Next is our journalism class, which is Mr. Holko. Not a very good picture, but they were doing a debate when I came up there, and I sent it out on Twitter. We have a couple students from the journalism class to tell you a little bit about what they're doing and what's to come.
Hi.
Go ahead, sorry.
Hi, I'm Gino. And this is,
I'm Isabella Hooks. I'm junior here at Brooklyn.
we are in the journalism class. Right now, we are learning how to be journalists by learning how to prep for writing the journals, actually interviewing people at the events, and going to real events at the community.
The way we do this is we go to these events, we take notes and photos depending on what the event is, and we write them down, we report about them so that we have a more well-informed community here at Brooklyn. The biggest thing is we use our new program that Mr. Wingler is actually in the process of getting for us called OptiZine, and it is a publishing program that we are going to work on so everyone can see it.
And the way we did that was I sent Mr. Holko 6 or 7 different possible web designs for this paper, and he had the students spend a class analyzing them. They selected the one that they liked. The cost was all pretty much the same, so we went with ones that they enjoyed. The good news is we're pretty much ready, and an exciting kind of the way we're doing this is we are sharing our newspaper with the other 16, 17 schools in the first ring. I've got commitments from at least 8 principals in the first ring that starting next year, they will be sharing theirs with the first ring as well. Go ahead.
Ooh, are you in trouble?
It's okay. It happens to the
I just want to mention this. This is something brand new. We're talking about adding to our National Art Honor Society and our National Honor Society a National Spanish Honor Society. Mrs. Holko approached me about it, and we are in the process of beginning that. Inductions will be at the same time as the other honor societies. I just want to mention first ring leadership. Last Friday, we had 5 juniors. Seniors were at senior lunch, so they missed, but they will be running concurrently this year. We'll have 5 seniors, 5 juniors that will be interacting with the other 16, 17 schools in first ring and are doing projects to make Brooklyn a better school. Last year's juniors worked on a project, are we preparing kids better for college, for the future, for work? The cool thing I found out last week is right now we're looking at the probability, this is gonna be a CCP 3 credit course for these kids. So they're gonna receive college credit for this. And yet, the stuff we did last year, it's back, but we want it to be better. Whether it's esports, the choir, the play, whatever we have going on, and I put question marks because we always take ideas. I'm proud to admit that we steal every good idea we hear. So who knows what new club there'll be. Last year we had a debate, we added quite a few, and we're hopefully that we can keep doing that. I think I got one more. I just want to mention that, the Key Club, they did a Say Hello event that was K through 12. The 40 members of the Key Club went around, it was wear green, we all wore green to show some solidarity. They went around the building with Dum Dum Suckers and went down, some of the pictures are with the smaller kids that signed the I Pledge to Be Kind, so that we can, get our older Key Clubbers involved. And we have a lot of future stuff going on, I won't go through it all tonight. The Key Club kids are looking at maybe going to the senior center for lunch with seniors, and we have a long list of events that if you follow my Instagram or Twitter, you'll be excited to see. That's it. Thanks for coming, guys.
Question, digital and hardcover, the book, the book for
yearbook.
the yearbook?
Did
Digital and hardcover?
Yes.
Do you have both?
we should have both.
Okay.
We're also gonna have a live action scene where you're gonna put your phone up to the yearbook. This is Mr. Henning was part of that negotiations with Ripcho. You get one free, including the price.
Sure.
A live action scene where you pick your phone up and you get like a 2-minute scene. The question will be who will win the fight for who gets the scene. I feel like the band and the musical may battle it out for that one.
Sounds
We
good.
could add more too. There's a lot of stuff going on with the yearbook. We're looking at getting some funding from local resources to maybe expand it. We want it to be big and beautiful and bold, and if we can do more than one live scene, if we can afford it, certainly we will.
Aren't you taking ads, trying to raise some money for
We
the
are.
yearbook? Yeah.
And we've gotten, thanks to Mr. Hennings, we've gotten quite a few commitments already. He's kind of liaison with us with various people in the community, and at least 10 or 15 people just the last football game have expressed an interest in doing that.
That's good.
And our goal is to I want to add, this is really important. The yearbook last year was roughly $43, $44. We have a verbal commitment without any additional funding of $29. We're lowering the price of this yearbook by a significant amount so that more of our kids can afford it,
Great,
which I'm sure the parents will appreciate.
you got it. Anything else?
No, sir?
All right,
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it, good job.
Thank you. Wonderful
Mr.
job.
Wingler, thank you very much. Students, thank you very much. As a former English teacher, those 2 particular classes really warm my heart on many levels. I think one of the things is we always talk about how we can make learning authentic, and I think those 2 classes certainly have done it. I mean, they're crafting their own yearbook, and what better responsibility than that? And then certainly the journalism class, I think Isabel actually interviewed me after one of our games. She came up to me, and they're doing that right in real time. So great opportunity. So a lot of great spirit to start the year. Thanks, Mr. Wingler. Thanks, Mr. Hare, and obviously the staff, because you guys are part of what that is all about. So good stuff happening.
Yep. Anything else? Good. All right, we're gonna go on to comments from visitors. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in as effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation as it pertains to school-related topics will be permitted at each meeting. Each person wishing to address the board will approach a podium and state his/her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, No person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had an opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. Anybody?
Good evening. I'm Dawn Blom. I'm a fifth grade ELA teacher and president of the Brooklyn Education Association. The association stands here this evening to share the hard work and dedication that we provide to the children of this community every day. I thought that I would share with you a very short list of reasons why this teaching staff became educators and what drives us to come to work each day. We became teachers because we have a passion for learning. We became teachers because we want to grow lifelong learners. We became teachers because we have many talents, and only teaching allows us to use them all. We became teachers because some of us have survived teachers who made school unbearable, and we want every child to have a positive school experience. We became teachers because we did have great teachers who inspired us. We became teachers because we know that a true understanding of life isn't measured on a test, but in the way we treat each other. We became teachers because we want to share the love of reading with children. We became teachers because watching a child's growth from August to June, from pre-K to 12, is unlike any other profession that can be offered. This teaching staff is an asset to this community. Our association goes above and beyond so that the children of this community can be afforded lessons and experiences that will allow them to be productive members of society. We create differentiated and engaging lessons. We implement technology and teach 21st century skills. We provide guidance lessons so that students can learn how to handle difficult situations. We lend an empathetic ear to anyone looking for someone to listen. We afford student band experiences that allow them to showcase their talents at large venues. Students are able to attend trips to Washington, D.C., Greenfield Village, and the Henry Ford Museum and the zoo, just to name a few. We provide multiple opportunities for students to join groups to explore their own interests. We teach children or treat children as we do our own during the school day. We watch over, protect, guide, challenge, and comfort. We make our rooms a second home. We're always looking for ways to make them more comfortable. We support this community by adopting families at the holidays. We support and contribute to any and all fundraisers. We attend sporting events, concerts, and the musical. We also help sponsor events in this community, such as Picnic in the Park, the golf outing, and the Fall Festival. In closing, I thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the association and know that we are standing together in solidarity for the children and betterment of this community. We are Blue and Gold.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're to go on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Dr. Glykoff.
I don't have a very long report tonight. Just have a couple of quick things. Certainly, it's just a month before Election Day, and it would be remiss of me of not to talk a little bit about issue 2, why it's important, why it's significant to our community. And I also want to talk a little bit about, we're just 6-7 weeks into the school year. What big things are also happening? I know Mr. Wingler just highlighted a little bit of the high school. I want to talk about a couple other things that are happening that I think are significant because of where the genesis of those ideas came from. Issue 2, what is it? It's, again, we've really reiterated this over and over. It's a no new tax renewal. I know that seems redundant, but again, we're trying to really reiterate with our folks in our community the fact that this is a renewal levy. This is one that actually was passed in May 2015, which was just before I started as superintendent. Again, it produces 6 mills, about $1.6 million. Again, This is one that has it's a 5-year levy, so every 5 years. So if this passes, this will come up again in 2025, and we'll have to come to the community again. So again, renewal levies are that. We just have to keep coming back to them. Why the need, though? And I think I try to reiterate this with folks, is that we do not have a permanent improvement levy within the school district. And, you know, we can talk about the past piece, but again, we lost it by 2 votes back a few years ago. Nonetheless, with that, we still have to maintain our buildings. And not with a dedicated permanent improvement fund, it's difficult to do that. So we have to use our operating dollars to do that. We have to do that with a high school that is 1955, and also with the new complex here that is 2015. So, and each of them, you know, poses its challenges. But we're obviously committed to a high quality of education. And how do you do that? Technology, instructional materials, professional development, and obviously, you know, staff. I mean, as we have many of our staff here, obviously, that is a big part of our operating budget. I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and you should be as a Board of Education, is how we've had our commitment to the community. We've been good stewards of the money, meaning we've stayed within our means. As everybody here tries to has a budget at their particular home, staying within that, we've done that here within the school district, meaning that we're not deficit spending. Is that a difficult task year to year? Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially given some of the challenges that we have that exist from the state of Ohio, which are still there. And the fact of the matter is, we've lost tangible personal property tax. You know, the state of Ohio thought, okay, we're not going to take that away from schools, and so they phased that out. We receive so much tangible tax here at Brooklyn that they're still phasing it out. And so I think right where we initially received about $2.3 million in tangible personal property tax, this year we may be recouping maybe $300,000 of that. And by 2022, it will be zero. And so we have that challenge. The other challenge that still exists is the fact that when the funding formula is put in operation, we receive less money than the non-public schools. We're one of 25 districts in the state of Ohio that actually receive less per pupil funding. And you know, I've talked about that with you. I've testified down in the state. We're still fighting that fight. But unfortunately, right now with the General Assembly and the governor, it doesn't look like we're going to get much relief on that. So that's why monies like this are important. That's why issue 2 is so important. It actually is about 10% of our operating budget. So I know renewals, they seem to have a history of passage, but that doesn't mean we still have to go through and really make our community aware of the importance of it. So wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight. The other thing, what is new? A couple of things I really wanted to kind of highlight. This is one that is interesting because this came out of our strategic planning. And we have one of our strategic plan groups talks about safety and discipline. And one of the things that came up within that group, and I think Mrs. Jones, you're on that group as well, was, you know, as our complex has a lot of students dismissing all at the same time, especially on this side with our younger students, you know, how they dismiss and where they go. You know, from my office area, I see many students who even run across this parking lot. And it's kind of scary at times, especially if they're running between that. And so this committee, this strategic planning group talked a little bit about, you know, what could be done with that. And they hypothesized and brainstormed. And one of the areas that we've looked at is we're having some of our Polaris students, our criminal justice students, will be helping out, almost becoming like safety ambassadors, if you will, to really help some of our younger students with that. It's been a great thing. I appreciate, you know, others who have made contact with Polaris on this, to the point where some of these criminal justice students will actually get service hours for this project. But it really helps them become better citizens, but also helps some of our younger students with some of the safety features after school. So I'm really proud of this one, because it's kind of where the idea came from, but how it's also going to be our students helping other students. Last year I spoke about our student resource officer, Officer Meadows, was doing some 5th grade lessons. He's done 10 lessons last year working with our students. I would say DARE-like, responsible choices, things like that. He approached me just a few weeks ago and he says, Dr. Gleichoff, I'd really like to add to this. There's 5 more lessons I think that are very appropriate that would be good for our kids. And I said, that's great. I mean, if the school and the teachers feel this can fit in, I think that's a great idea. So that actually is going to be expanded. We're going to look to 15 sessions with our 5th graders. So I think it's exciting because we're starting to really look at, what has been a lot of the emphasis, good decision making, trauma-informed care, mental health, those kind of outside helps and resources, and we're able to provide some of those.
Is there a specific reason why 5th grade?
I think we did
Just
it.
age?
I think it's the age. I think it's, when you look at
Maturity.
some of the responsible choices that are happening given there, I mean, I think that's why DARE was always there.
Right.
Because that's usually your kind of gateway time for students to become involved in some of your riskier behaviors, if you will. And certainly we found that, especially now. And, DARE first started, they talked a lot about smoking. But, now it's vaping, and that's a fear. You know what my feelings are on that. It's, they created these things to try to get one generation off smoking, and instead they just brought a whole new generation onto it. And I think that's painful. So one of the other things I'm real proud of is here in the pre-K 7 is Assistant Principal Smith has really talked about trying to do something with some of our younger male students, not having a whole lot of role modeling and so forth. She went out and really researched a lot of programs and has found some folks to be able to really help the mentorship of some of our young students. So she's working with that agency, has gotten some grant monies to be able to do that, and really just be able to come in and targeting, some students who would need some help with that. So it'll be interesting to see this get started, but I like the fact that we're trying to give some kids some help and some guidance. It's some of those crucial times, those fragile times and early times where they really can give them some guidance. So I thought these were things that were worthy of talking about because it really helps, more than just the academics, which is obviously important. We've got to support our kids in so many different ways today. So any questions? That kind of concludes my report for tonight.
Anybody?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to Mr. Hoskins' treasurer's report.
I don't have anything. I've just been doing payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, 5-year forecast.
Sounds like a plan. Keep it going. I'm gonna go on to comments from board members and board committee reports. We're gonna start with Mr. Singer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have too much today, just had a great time at homecoming weekend. Thank Mr. Wingler and his team and his students for their presentation. I like the additional extracurricular participation. I think that kind of rounds out the student. And the more we can offer our students, the better. And I want to thank Ms. Blom for her presentation. Spot on. I know you carry a lot more weight than what you had extrapolated up at the podium here. The local parentis has been expanded over the years for many of us on the board and teaching staff and administrative staff. So thank you for that. Just looking forward to Capital Conference coming up in November, learning maybe some new tricks of the trade for getting some ideas from other board members down in Columbus at Capital Conference. And I wanted to finish up by asking everyone to please vote for issue 2 for the renewal. And it's vital and critical for the health of our school district. And as you can see, we're doing a lot of progress here and doing more for education than I've ever seen since I've been on the board here. So kudos to everybody involved. End of report.
Thank you, sir. And on to Mrs. Barcheck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I want to thank Mr. Wingler for his presentation. The students are doing amazing things. I know my daughter's in the yearbook class, and she absolutely loves it, and she's in the Key Club, and she loves that, too. So there's a lot of good things happening in the high school and a lot of positive momentum going. Mrs. Blom, thank you for speaking, and thank you for, you were spot on. We know that the teachers are the heart of this, the classroom, and you set the tone for everything. So thank you so much for your kind words. I have my wonderful little laptop isn't working that had all my notes on it, so I'm gonna be kind of, winging it tonight. So, trying to go through things not in the order that I had them in. I wanna congratulate the band. I don't know if anyone got to see, it was an amazing experience. Being down there, it was phenomenal. I know we've seen each other down there. It was absolutely amazing. Those kids got to perform at the Horseshoe. I can't explain to you unless you were there how much it meant to the kids, how much it meant to the staff. It was just phenomenal. And to see up in big lights, Brooklyn, and then have Sean Sullivan's name up there, and then having a picture of our band up. I mean, it was something, it just gives me goosebumps. It was something that I can't even express to you. Thank you to the Music Boosters, Miss Kelly Kroll. Thank you so much for everything that you were done. I know you were running around like crazy that day and every day. Thank you so much. But it was, if you get a chance to watch the video of it, it doesn't do it justice how much it felt. And then for the kids, and I know my daughter was there, and she said, she's like, it's something I'll never forget the rest of my life, that opportunity to be down there and perform. And, it was 95 degrees, but I wouldn't have been anywhere else on earth than that 50-yard line, sitting in the sweating for an hour to see them play. And so it was very, very special. I also like to congratulate Gavin Supak and Jaden Walls for making homecoming king and queen, and our court. Miss Zoe Singer, I know, was on our court. Seeing Rick walking down with his daughter. It was a wonderful week. Last week had a lot of positive, happy things going on in the school. We had homecoming, we had a lot of fundraisers, we had Volley for a Cure, a lot of things that our kids were involved in. It was a good time. I think the kids had a great time at homecoming. I heard it was wonderful. Thank you again to everybody who helped make that possible. I want to thank all of those who volunteered for Volley for a Cure. Thank you for helping making that fundraiser such a success. It's really appreciated. I'd like to thank Rob Slater and the Brooklyn Acres for donating and putting on the bonfire. I know a lot of the kids love that, and that was a tradition they wanted to be brought back, and it was a fun thing that they got to do, and it's what makes us the small town homecoming feel, and it's a special thing that I'm glad that our kids got to experience. Right now, as we speak, it's senior night for the volleyball, so congratulations to our seniors on the volleyball team, and wish them best of luck. I cannot believe our fall sports are coming to an end. I mean, this year is just flying by. Yes, it is. I would like to thank everyone on our levy committee. It seems like we are on the levy trail constantly. It seems like we get, we pass one or it fails, and then give yourself a break for a minute, and then we're right back on it. I would like to also thank all the residents for voting for our levies, for all those who go out and vote and make the schools a priority. It is greatly appreciated. I believe, and I always have, the schools are what is the heart of this community. That's why I bought a home here, is because I wanted my kids to go to a small town school where, good or bad, as my son has definitely learned, if you've done something, I'll hear about it and I'll know about it, because it's a school this size. It gets around quite quick, and it takes a village, because I appreciate the things that this small town school system offer. When you have parents say, hey, I seen this, or hey, can I help you, and can I bring your kid home, can I do something to help you? It's really, this school is the heart of our community, and so those levies that we need passed are crucial. Thank you to everyone who works on those committees, and thank you most importantly to all of our residents. I know you have sacrificed and given us new money, but this, however, is a renewal, and it is no new money, but we appreciate every single vote you give us. Every one of these levies are crucial, even our renewals, so thank you so much. I would like to wish a happy birthday to one of my favorite singers, Miss Pam Singer. I wish her a happy birthday, and I can always be reached if you ever like to speak with me about anything, 216-346-1926. You can text me or call. That's it.
Thank you.
Looking at my paper.
Oh, yeah, I read Bob's notes. That's how I got through tonight.
We're gonna go on to Bob's notes now.
Well, he pretty much took most of what I had to say here, so I'll just start with thank you, Mr. Wingler, for a great night, for a great week as far as homecoming goes. The school was decorated all in blue and gold, so that was fantastic. As far as the yearbook goes, I can't tell you how glad I am that the kids really love it. I know it was one of my favorite things when I was here. And yes, there's a lot of work going into this yearbook. I guarantee it's going to be better than it was in the past and cheaper. It'll be. So that's great. I'm glad that Gavin was able to come here and talk about it. Kelly, you kind of missed him. He got a little tongue twisted. It's not often you don't hear Gavin not with something to say. He was like,
He did phenomenal. He was amazing.
stalled out a
He
little.
did.
He stalled.
did
He
phenomenal.
stalled. He got tongue twisted. So, but he restarted good. He finished up strong. As far as journalism goes, I had Mr. Younger when I was here, and let me tell you, if you didn't do your homework, you ran laps during football practice or track. So I'm telling you right now, journalism was a great class. I want to thank the many residents who's already voiced their opinion for voting on issue 2. Thank you. And I'm going to finish up with anybody interested in donating for the senior night. Mrs. Supek is here. She's collecting donations if anybody wants to donate for the fireworks. And if anybody likes to get involved with anything going on after school, the music boosters and athletic boosters are always looking for help. So both presidents are back there, and thank you very much.
Okay, on to Mr. Oprah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, Mr. Younger, he was,
Straighten you out.
oh, yeah.
Yoda.
I'd like to thank Mrs. Blum for your words tonight. It's very appreciative, and it's all right. It's all correct. Thank you, Mr. Wingler. I had a little advance notice last Friday at the homecoming game, talking to him about what he was going to talk about tonight, and it's just activities in the school, just brings it all into focus, and it gives the kids the opportunity to want to come to school because they have other things that they want to get accomplished, and that's just another avenue. My Polaris report is a short one because next week is the Polaris meeting with the ribbon cutting. I'd like to thank my fellow board members for agreeing to swap the dates, so myself, Dr. Glykoff, and Mr. Hennings could
Is that the
attend.
dinner
Yeah.
that we're missing?
That is the dinner you're missing.
Yeah.
Sorry about your luck. Next Wednesday will be the community day from 12 to 5, when tours and classroom demonstrations will be happening. I will try to get a legislative update to present next meeting as soon as I can synchronize my schedule with Dr. Glykoff's. I also want to, echo my fellow board members, to ask for community support on issue 2. It's no new taxes. We have a lot of great things going on, as witnessed by tonight. We'd like to keep Brooklyn on the upward trajectory. And I have found that one of the best ways to follow all the great stuff that goes on here is to follow Brooklyn, Dr. Glykoff, and Mr. Wingler on social media. Myself, being the last Neanderthal, even follows the schools on Twitter, and it is very informative. I can be reached at james.oprah@bcshurricanes.org at 216-485-8195. And that concludes my report.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mrs. Blum, for your insight. It doesn't go unnoticed, believe us. Kids, for their presentation, did a nice job. And all I can do is no new taxes on issue 2. We need your support. I'll be out at the polls all day, standing there in the cold. Hopefully it's not cold all day. I've been in there too many times, I know. November, it's tough. So, with that said, we're gonna move on to approval of minutes and financial statements, and the reader tonight is Mr. Singer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be it resolved that the minutes of the September 25th, 2019 Board of Education meeting be adopted, and all action taken by the Board of Education at said meeting is hereby reaffirmed and approved.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. I'll second it. Questions, comments? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mr. Oprah?
Yes.
Mr. Neal? And, sorry, Mr. Singer, there are no financial statements yet because we moved the meeting a week early, and I just haven't gotten balanced and those done yet. So I need to correct that in the minutes, take that out.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education, in accordance with revised code, chapter 3327, and the procedure set forth by the Ohio Department of Education, declare transportation impractical for certain identified students. The resolution follows careful evaluation of all available options prior to consideration of impracticality. Whereas the students identified on a list in the central office have been determined to be residents of this school district and eligible for transportation services. And whereas after careful evaluation of all available options, it has been determined that it is impractical to provide transportation for these students in their selected schools. And whereas the following factors as identified in ORC Code 3327.02 have been considered: the time and distance required to provide the transportation, the number of pupils to be transported, the cost of providing transportation in terms of equipment, maintenance, personnel, and administration, whether similar or equivalent service is provided to other pupils eligible for transportation, and whether and to what extent the additional service unavoidably disrupts current transportation schedules. Also, whether other reimbursable types of transportation are available, and whereas the option of offering payment in lieu of transportation is provided in revised code. So be resolved that the Brooklyn Board of Education hereby approves the declaration of impractical to transport the identified students and offering them payment in lieu of
Bless you.
transportation.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, this is an
Blackwell?
annual resolution, and, you know, that Mr. Singer went and read the whole thing, or kind of gives you the reasons. They look at all the reasons why it just is impractical to transport. Typically, there's always be non-pub students or so forth, so we do a payment in lieu of that. Last year, the payment was $250 per family. I don't think we've gotten that finalized yet for this year, but it'll probably be right about the same. It's stayed for that for the last several years, so we just pay those families that money.
So does it apply to like local families that go to STM? Do we pay them
Correct.
$250 also?
Correct. If
And
they
then-
fall into that category, yeah,
Yeah.
that they would be transported.
Yes, and then okay.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves a temporary change of hours for Linda Prusak from custodial/cleaner, 6 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 8, to custodial/cleaner, 7 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 8, from September 26, 2019 to October 30, 2019.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, this, Mrs. Prusek is filling in for someone who is out on leave, and so we're not sure how long the leave's gonna go, so we just did it for another month.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the change of hours for the following employee for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year. J.C. Rowland, from playground monitor, 2.5 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 2, to playground monitor, increase 0.583 hours per day to equal 3.083 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 2, effective August 26, 2019, and from playground monitor, 3.083 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 2, to playground monitor, increase 0.833 hours per day to equal 3.916 hours per day, Appendix B, Step 2, effective October 7th, 2019.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, that was a long way of saying Mrs. Rowland added about an hour and a half or 2 hours to her day when AM playground monitor resigned, and she filled that role, and a PM playground monitor resigned, and she took that role. So that's what that addition is.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following persons for the 2019-2020 supplemental coaching assignments, with the provision that such individual comply with all Ohio High School Athletic Association rules and regulations and the State Department of Education regulations pertaining to proper certification and/or first aid training, and fulfills the requirements of the job description attached to their supplemental contracts. And Beer, faculty manager, winter, 0.5 hours, 0.5. George Timas, faculty manager, right, winter, 0.5. Nicholas Kuttner, middle school wrestling coach. Katie Demian, head JV varsity cheerleading coach. Samantha Brueggemann, middle school cheerleading coach. Daniel excuse me if I
Menigan.
butcher this. Daniel Menigan, 7th grade boys basketball coach, and Kyle Atkins, 8th grade boys basketball coach.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
As Mrs. Barczyk said, fall season's over and now we're getting into our winter, so some of these coaches actually will begin practices by the end of this month as we get going, so.
Turns fast. Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Headings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the supplemental teaching resignation of Wendy Smith, high school student council advisor, .5 full-time equivalent.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Just a standard resignation from last month's. You'll see how it'll make sense with the second resolution here.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Headings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved that Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the supplemental teaching change of Yacinda Bader from high school student council advisor, .5 FTEs, to high school student council advisor, 1 full-time equivalent, originally approved on September 17 of 2019.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
So Mrs. Bader and Mrs. Smith shared it. Mrs. Smith has resigned it, so now Mrs. Bader is taking on the whole position.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Headings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education, in accordance with ORC Code 3313.26, gratefully accepts the following generous donation under the condition that the board shall have full control over this item. A 5 foot by 2 foot craftsman shed donated by Lowe's.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Thank you
Yeah.
for the donation.
Yeah, so this is a good one. This, obviously, some of our playground monitors and our administrative staff and teachers, they said, we want to get, playground equipment for our kids. And that's all well and good, but where do you put that? And so, some of the staff and Mrs. Smith went and asked Lowe's, said, hey, would you perhaps look at donating a shed? And they said that would be great, so. They're gonna have it set up probably outside the back door close to the playground, so.
Thank
Kudos
you.
to them for taking that initiative to do that.
Anybody else? Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Headings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. Do we have any correspondence related to action information?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Hoskins, anything?
Huh?
You have any other business?
I do not have any.
November, what's the election, 5th?
Well, we're gonna meet.
We're gonna meet in October.
Okay. I know, well, I'm just saying, make sure we cover that. Any other business? None? All right, announcement of the next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, in the Treasurers Conference located in the Board of Education offices, 9200 Biddulph Road, Brooklyn, Ohio, at 6 p.m. Now, resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education enter into executive session to consider the sale of disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with section 505.10 of the revised code pursuant to RC 121.22 G2. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hoskins, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Headings?
Yes.
Mr. Oper?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. The board will not continue anything after this.
44.
Will gavel us out, and we are current at 6:44. Is that what you have, Mr. Hoskins?
That's what I have.
All right, thank you. All right.
Are we staying in here? Are we going back
We'll
there?
probably go